in Rivers State, let me take it from there, Amici. It boils down to the issue that the senior advocate of Nigeria, Olisa Agbakuba, is talking about, the election tribunal, petition tribunal, the issue of inspecting or no inspecting. We didn't expect the issue in Rivers State to snowball to what we saw yesterday, that political party supporters clashing, and to the extent of a gunshot on some supporters. We asked INEC to listen to counsel or to advice such as this from a senior lawyer. They should, the court, I mean to say, the tribunals, to listen to advice from senior lawyers such as Olisa Agbakuba to expedite effort in the election petition tribunal, not to allow such issues that we saw in Rivers State rear its ugly head. We do not see our election being war, as we have said in the past, is a contest, and a contest that the president advised when the president-elect was announced that people should not take to the streets, they should go to court, approach court. And we are responsible human beings, we are responsible citizens. We expect that both politicians and their supporters should be respectful. If you have two wrongs, you cannot make a right. Two wrongs cannot make a right. So the issue in Rivers State, Amici, is very serious, and I expect the political actors in that state to speak up and to ensure that peace reigns.
What happened in Port Harcourt?
The APC supporters, led by the governorship candidate Tony Cole, were at INEC office with permission to inspect the electoral materials, but the PDP supporters, led by the deputy speaker and the PDP and some senior members of the PDP, stormed the INEC office, saying that they too should be allowed to inspect. Their one political party cannot be allowed to inspect the electoral materials. Then they too should be allowed to inspect the electoral materials. I bet you we remember what played out when the Labour Party and the PDP in the presidential election sought to inspect the electoral materials. The APC applied, and they were granted permission to also inspect the electoral materials. I don't know why senior members of political parties who happen to be lawyers we allow such things to be happening. They can approach the court and seek permission to also inspect instead of taking to violence. We do not support violence in any quarter. You saw what happened in front of INEC office, national office yesterday. The Taraba State NNPP supporters stormed there peacefully. They
have
peacefully.
Joined the protest.
Yes, they marched peacefully to INEC headquarters in Abuja, demanding for a review of the process. They didn't go with sticks. They didn't go with anger, not to provoke security office agencies from throwing tear gas or whatever. And then they passed their message and submitted their petition. And same thing goes for the pro-Tinubu supporters, who led by the group called the Natives. They were at INEC head office yesterday, and they did their peaceful protest and calling on all everybody to support the president-elect. That is the kind of protest that we see. Even though the president has advised that people should go to court, I also think that those protesting should ensure that it is peaceful. You have a right to protest and make it peaceful.
Teve, we have seen this protest also, even at the White House. We have seen this protest move from INEC headquarters to streets of Abuja, even to defense headquarters in Abuja. We have seen this protest take place in front of embassies and premises of foreign missions in Nigeria. Like you said, White House, the anti-Tinubu protesters first went, and I heard pro-Tinubu protesters also planning to protest if they have not protested. Which other capital of the world are we going to extend this protest on? Like Abudu said, NNPP in Taraba. Surprisingly, NNPP made a strong showing in Taraba, and have also joined the protest, insisting that INEC must do the right thing. At the state level, there have been several protests. In Nasarawa, Lafia, it's been half-clad, half-naked women. In Kaduna, it's women adorning black attires. Many cities of the Federation, one protest or the other, Enugu, name it. And in Port Harcourt, we have also seen protests even before the governorship election, and clashes now between political parties. Some inconsistencies as to whether one died yesterday in Port Harcourt.
No, he had the gunshot and it was serious bleeding and he didn't die.
But there were several injuries.
Yeah, injuries. Amici, before TV comes in, you're talking about protests. There's a very disturbing development in Ogun State. Ladi Adebutu, the PDP governorship candidate, has raised an alarm that there's a plot to his life, there's threat to his life because he's challenging the election of Dakpo Abiodun winning. The difference, their votes, is about 13,900 and something. So he's raising an alarm. I think security agencies should take this very important. We should not degenerate to this level where candidates will be running for their lives.
Amechi, good morning to you. Good morning, listener. Protest is a part of democracy. It's a right of anybody who wants to feel. And you can protest for or against. It's not that once there's a protest.
Can neutrals also come and protest, saying we are neutrals?
Yes, that we want peace. It's possible. And the concern is how our security agencies handle the situation. What happened in Rivers State yesterday is unfortunate. Clearly, that's why even during campaigns, it's always advised that look, the parties should, produce the itinerary of their campaign so that they know where party A is going, party B will go the other way like that, so that there will be no clashes. Definitely, once the two of them meet face to face, there will always be a clash, and that's what happened, in Port Harcourt yesterday. Unfortunately, the police started shooting guns, tear gas, and all.
But that was not the case of campaign.
Was it protest that the APC was doing at the INEC office in Port Harcourt?
When you move such a crowd, definitely, because the governorship candidate went there with his people that look, they've not given them the materials they requested for, despite the order of
for
inspection, despite the order of the tribunal and all of that. And then the PDP people
were
saying
some form of protest.
Yes, so some PDP, and he's been there almost every other day. I think even over the weekend or so, he was there. He's been going there. In fact, today he said he's coming to Abuja. He's leaving Port Harcourt to come to protest in Abuja to request for,
Okay, he's moving it to the capital.
Yes, to Abuja. So it's what it is. I think to a large extent, INEC has also not handled the issues properly the way they should be handled. Don't forget, the Labour Party almost had a similar thing at the national level, where their lawyers had to storm the headquarters, they had to meet with them. They said, and all of that. And whether they are going to the states has been attended to is another thing. And maybe because of, the way Port Harcourt is and the kind of media attention, it could be happening in other states, or some persons will be denied, let me put it that way, denied access to, some of these materials, and we're not even hearing about it because such a spotlight has not been there. But INEC should do the needful. If
there are so many cases,
allegations
against INEC, both at the federal and state level, about their refusal to implement decision, because when the court says grant them access to inspect materials, is a ruling that must be respected. Now, when they become one too many, then it leaves a lot to be desired. That's where you're driving at.
Clearly, and INEC is also saying, look, even the recs, the certified true copies cannot be given at that level. The recs have to bring them. They have to their legal department in Abuja. This unitary system of everything, they have to certify them and all. But I want to believe they are learning from the experience of Osun State, where the rec there gave different thing to party A and gave different thing to party B, and it became an issue. But there should be a better way of tidying this thing up. They have a legal department that should have been in charge of this thing, so that moving forward,
with a budgetary provision of $3 billion to deal with election petition cases.
So they should have, INEC should have done better than what they are doing. Clearly, what the situation we have in Rivers State and all of is the failure of INEC. We must put it where it belongs. The failure of INEC. And the PDP in Rivers State, what are they saying? That look, they should not allow APC, they should not allow SDP or any other party to inspect. It should be joint inspection. The day they say, and I think moving forward, perhaps that should be what should happen. Not just in Rivers, at the national level or wherever. Because all the parties that have gone will definitely get the leave of the tribunal to inspect. So they have a particular day, the day everybody is there, they inspect, and so that nobody
goes. One very important development that took place in Kenya when the presidential election was annulled. Part of the reason that the Supreme Court in Kenya annulled that election and ordered for a rerun was that the National Electoral Commission of Kenya refused to grant access to one of the political parties for inspection. And what was the conclusion? That because you refuse them access, what they allege will take to be true.
Yes.
The allegations they raised, we accept it as the truth because you, the Electoral Commission, refuse to give them access as ordered by the court. So when the INEC refuses to grant access to any of the party and they take it to the tribunal and they make that case, they stand that chance of also benefiting from what happened in Kenya.
Clearly, I think once it's this silence amounts to consent.
Yes.
So if you fail to act based on an order that the tribunal or court has given, it definitely means you are consenting that indeed this is what had happened. INEC needs to. There are a lot of lessons they need to take out of this, and as the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, should be on top of the game now, because the interesting thing is this: all the supposed petitioners have 21 days, 14 days after. This is the last week that they have. If they
For the
don't,
governorship.
if they don't file those matters within this week, it means they can. The issue is statute barred. They cannot proceed or challenge those elections moving forward. Is that what INEC wants? Is that what we want in our democracy? No. Whoever is aggrieved, if we said people should not take to the streets, if you agree, go to court, then give them every access and assistance that they need to get justice.
Or they resort to self-help.
Self-help.
That's the problem. When you obstruct justice, the tendency to resort to self-help increases.
But who will the self-help help? That is the problem. So it boils down to INEC. If you take to the street, will it solve your problem? If you go protest, will it solve the problem? So it boils down to INEC, as we are saying. INEC should wake up to responsibility and ensure that there is equal treatment of other. Okay, look at Rivers State. Labour Party is not even talking yet. And SDP is not talking yet.
Have they filed petitions?
That is the issue. Have they filed petition? So they are not asking to be joined in the matter. Probably, as David said, media attention is in one direction. That is why we are hearing what is happening there. So the issues are all over the states. In Kaduna State, the issue is still there. The political party had a meeting yesterday or so, and they said, I think they won 2 senatorial seats, and they said they are going all out.
Which party?
PDP, I mean to say, in Kaduna State. And they said they're going all out to challenge the outcome of the election. They didn't take to the street violently, and there was no opposing protesters stopping them from airing their views. So we need peace in Nigeria to ensure that the electoral process is carried on since we have seen that most times our election ends in court. Let's allow the court to do what they have to do.
INEC is a responsible institution. I will expect that they show high level of responsibility in dealing with these matters.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Kenya. Something very interesting is happening in Kenya. The opposition person there, Raila Odinga, who lost the elections, has declared that there should be a protest on Mondays, on Thursdays. It's been going on every week. But
similar to the sit-at-home.
but the one of yesterday, he had to call it off because the president considered. He said, "Look, one of their demands is that there should be a reconstitution of the Kenya Electoral Commission, and there should be an all-party, all stakeholders affair." So the president considered that yes, he's going to. And the
does it require constitutional amendment in Kenya?
I'm not too sure of the provision, but for the president to concede that, look, yes, let's have and all-party stakeholders come up with an electoral commission that is acceptable. Definitely
that will include members of different political parties. One of the takeaways from this election, 2023 general election, is huge allegation that INEC officials compromised heavily. Before then, a lot of pressures were on the National Assembly and the president that some politically exposed persons were appointed into INEC. Now, if you appoint, the power to appoint confers some advantage on you. That's why Mohammed Uwais thought it wise to say, let's remove that power to appoint from the president, who will also run in an election, whose party also run in an election, to appoint someone who is supposed to be neutral. That it can't add up. There's no way to add up. I'll appoint a referee and go into a match, and we assume that the referee will be neutral. That's the assumption.
The recommendation of the Waste Commission, of the National Judicial Council, almost half of the members are also appointed. By who?
By the president.
By the president.
So
we have a challenge of trust.
Yes.
And we need to build institutions.
But what we said there, what Kenya is doing, and what is happening in South Africa, is that within the electoral body, the political parties have seats in the board.
All the parties that have seats in the National Assembly should be represented
in the INEC, so that when they are distributing logistics, and if there is any problem, if you're not doing it the right way, they will raise issues, right? And the problem will be resolved. That's what we have proposed.
If you say political parties that have seats in the National Assembly should represent at INEC, I don't think it will add up. It should be that the other way around. All political parties registered should have seats with INEC.
Even those are
there's even an issue with the number of political parties we have. Because even if you don't win, so far you have been registered as a political party, you should have representation at INEC.
That's another strong
who knew about that?
Remember we had 90
political parties there. So we have 18. So
is it not all of them may have one seat?
Yes, that was why
applications are waiting to be granted.
So if you win a seat, you have a voice. That is what we are talking about. So if you win a seat, you have a voice to be represented. But I think going forward, like the suggestion that Teve made the other time, there should be political parties agent in the back end, and growing from there, there should be political party representative at INEC. It's not enough to have a meeting with IPAC. IPAC means Inter-Party Advisory Council. It's not enough. They should have somebody seated with INEC to go about these processes, so that we will not have issues of we are not carried along.
We have this breaking news coming in from Jos, Plateau State, as security operatives have again taken over the Plateau State House of Assembly, because Ayuba Abok, who was reinstated yesterday after 18 months of impeachment as Speaker of the House, was attempting to resume duty today. So the secretary took over. And don't forget, this is the same House of Assembly. They did not vote in the constitutional amendment because of the leadership crisis.
Another Wahala in Plateau. Well, we told you that the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal has 180 days to deal with the petition. We also told you that the Supreme Court has 90 days. No, it's 60 days. That correction has been